It is summer. It is raining. It is Fjorg. Previously, Fjorg tried to get more comfortably settled in, going about completing the first corner of the future Fjorgholm. There is now a place for fire, at last. Place for fire, and a place for being. The work continues. They're just gonna move sheep over here. As the home comes into being, we will start to clean up the lawn here, decide some other purpose for it. Also, go ahead and take this opportunity, Fjorg, to track.
What about Fjorg of the South, though?
What is the Fjorg of the South?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I mean, I suppose, in relative terms, Fjorg is of the south, of the north.
Yeah.
On
He's
the
not
map
as
here.
north as he could be.
Yeah, the Islanders and the Drexelian down here. They are the southwesternmost of the tribes. To be like double north would be to be the like the Fox tribe, the Owl tribe, and the Seal tribe up there.
Right. So for the most part, you are in fact Fjorg of the South of the North.
Fjorg, who is as far north as he intends to go.
Mm-hmm.
South Northman, the Fjord. A mere 73% fatigue. Fjorg is moving up in the world.
Good work, Fjorg. The Kawika tribe would be the black-throated loon tribe. All right.
Ah, yes. But at some point looked up what their name meant and then misplaced it in between.
Fair enough.
As far as next on the list for architecture, I'm going to try to finish the front wall first. So one tile of wall, then the door, and then I'll be able to build the entire interior hanging off of this front wall. Then we'll enclose as much as we can. What else have we got laying around here? We have a pile of birch bark of mostly terrible quality, so we'll mostly make terrible quality things. I think our main money-making scheme is actually going to be snare-based. Because also since last session I found out that, well, I already knew that there's separate skinning of an animal and butchering of an animal. But I knew of that as part of the leather working process, rather than also applicable to birds. You need to skin a bird to get the feathers.
Understandable.
Proceeding directly to the food meat destroys the rest of the animal.
The meat assemblage of the bird.
Yes, and doing so, an entire bird contains many feathers from which we could make appreciable arrows. We would have a lot of spending money if Fjorg had properly skinned the birds he has caught to date.
Well, he can't do everything.
Not on the first tries.
Yeah.
Taking him out for a walk. Quick patrol, looking for signs of life. Since finding any animal tracks is the next step in the tutorial chain that he still has sitting there on the side. And there's probably more complimentary rewards waiting in that.
Free stuff.
Free stuff from the guiding spirits. Ah, yes, there are some mushrooms over here. Fjorg does not know what these are.
Very strange.
He officially does not understand mushrooms.
You kind of can't expect him to. I mean, just look at them. They're weird.
Those aren't fish. And they aren't wood.
Or are they fish?
Are they the missing link between fish and wood?
No, I think that's just fish still.
The wood of the sea.
Yeah.
Alright, another decent arrow. As we will continue to scrounge for the money pile over here. Well, on days when food is present, we just go for 2 trees. Since then, over the course of a week, we'll be able to get together our wall material, then start on assembly.
Iskitulta Ilmarinen päällä yktipäinen mönin kirjavalla kärmehellä kolmella kokonsolla lapalla kuun kirjokannen päällä päivähan 9 päällä pystymme vedellä rahinrautasen ninnästä.
Also, yes, now that we've constructed enough of a house to exist, this tile is now considered a settlement on the map.
Nice.
It is Fjorgholm.
Officially the Fjorgholm.
All you need is a corner and some roof. That's a village.
Yeah, that's a house.
So according to those tooltips, even carrying this much, his clothing and the fishing rod and paddle and a snack is enough to be interfering with his tree felling efficiency.
He is so tiny.
We may never get his true lumbering potential until we can attain Nude Fjord.
It just needs to be the real summer season.
Yes. Which, going by the vague temperature bar, things are getting warmer. Maybe even in the rain. Let's quickly take off the overcoat. Messages there announce a quality rating for the log, which could mean that log is one of the things that can't have quality rating. It's just always adequate, or that it is possible to somehow botch making a wood tube.
Well, if you just keep on messing with the tube shape, you know, it makes a lot of sense that you could mess it up.
got a bunch of soaked branches I can work with for making more cord. So if I really wanted to practice tracking, I could probably go ahead and keep looking at the ground near the sheep tree. Settle in and do some forensics. Sheep. I need another 2 slim trunks to go here. For that remaining floor tile. And young tree is substantially easier to fell than full tree, but I also saw this laying around. Take advantage. The bounties of the forest. Also some nice full logs here. But at this distance, hauling them back would probably take as much effort as felling a fresh tree for Fjord. So until we acquire, like, a real pack animal, which would have to be pretty real to haul one of this 400, 500 pounds of lumber.
You saying that our sheep friend ain't a real animal?
Sheep is not worker. Sheep is friend. Sheep is excellent at conversation. Sheep is the Fjorg of the field.
Acceptable.
We have seen things fall into those snares. There are still animals that would dare approach our bean.
Do not ever allow an animal near your bean. Your bean is sacred.
Nature has always envied man's capacity to harness bean.
Completely true.
Forbidden knowledge, claimed from the void. Tomorrow, 1 tree, and then we fish. And Fjorg managed to sleep and stay warm throughout the night without a shirt
Good work,
on.
Fjorg.
Alright. The season has arrived. Alright, let's see if now that we are free of the oppressive weight of the overcoat, if Fjord can release his true potential.
Keskitulta ilmarinne päällä yktipäinen möinen kirjavan lakermeihellä kolmella kokonsolla päällä kuuden kirjokannen päällä päivähan 9 päällä pystymme vedon herrauta sen ninnästä.
Yes. Well, we've moved to what sounds like a less intense message, and the numbers bear out. That was 50% fatigue to fell this tree. We're getting closer to the limit. Oh, and I was also holding both axes when well, 2 out of 3 axes. There's 3, and then we'll need a bunch of boards for the door. And with that kind of output, Fjord could get like 2.5 trees in a day if we were doing a full day of lumber.
Full 2.5. Jeez. That's actually a lot of tree.
Becoming quite powerful.
Doing so well, Fjorg.
As far as I know, our actual attributes here cannot improve for the most part. These are fixed in place at creation. All of Fjord's advancement will be about becoming more skilled and finesseful to work around the limitations of his frame.
His very, very frail frame.
His very limited frame. The lake is kind. You are not allowed to pick up the raft from under yourself while you are piloting it.
Disappointing.
For the time being, we still have to settle for roasting our fish. But we will have a fine roast here in the skeleton of what will become a home. You can use one building for all purposes. The house can simultaneously be smokehouse and live house.
You can live in that smoke. It's okay.
The smoke is in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Smoke from the smoked fish.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely smoke, too. There's no steam involved.
No steam whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Zero steam.
Now, if you decide your smokehouse is also a sauna, that also still works. Then smoke and steam will commingle.
Yeah.
They get along well. They're basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But may as well take the opportunity to scrounge up some additional stone during these late night walkabouts. Since, in time, Fjord's ambition is to metalwork, and for that we will need many additional rocks. My God. The forest is kind. Nearly 3 arrows worth of grouse just laying around.
Nice.
It's free grouse. I think Fjord can handle one more stone. Yes. To walk most of the way to the hill over there. Might actually be a quirk of mechanics that the fire doesn't need to still be here while the fish is preparing. Because in my side files I have started to experiment with the metal related stuff and it uses, and well, like I suppose also as well in the mod here, we have other things that prepare over time. Some of which want to have fire around. Although wait, it is a proper fireplace, so that stays warm even after the fire is down. Get the fire restarted for a little bit, just to be sure. Over an hour of fire should be enough to finish that, and it's done. Good work. Kind of eyeballing out the property here. We're probably going to use all of these trees. At least all the large ones. A good screen's worth of trees in all directions. So we're going to have a sizable, clear field around the Fjorgholm. Somewhere in all of that is where we will put the fence. Maybe around here? Seems like a nice, comfy amount of space to have fenced off around the house. The wood I left here vanished.
Wood thieves. How dare they steal
These
the wood?
blueberries ate my wood.
How dare they?
Nature is crafty.
Kutuimmat olesta oli nyt vituimmat ole emmän yli nyt hinkuhinkalosta mennyt hinkuhinkaloon hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
Alright, yeah, I suppose we're more laden down than we were during the last tree fell because of all these fish. Someday we will store food on the side and only collect it as needed. That's the dream. A surplus of food. So drop the branches over here. I'm safe. Comfortably out of the way.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan ehille tulen tuiki polttamille panun lehtipäästämille.
It'll keep these away from the death bush on the hypothesis that its presence caused difficulty. So we can uproot it, build over it.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan ehille tulen tuiki polttamille panun lehtipäästämille.
Snow?
Snow? What?
Snow?
It-
What?
Excuse me. Warm snow?
Warm snow?
At this time of year, lies entirely within this forest.
Guardian spirit. Explain this.
What are you doing, Spirit? Go home. You're drunk.
But we did winter.
What? Why is it here again?
Winter does not need a sequel.
Winter is already ultra hell.
2 winters is the definition of the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. You're still pretty warm despite the winter that's happening right now.
Yeah, we're just having, weird, warm spring snow. It happens. There, it's gone.
There was just some sudden, brief snow. I guess it happens.
That's just nature. I think I'm gonna use our evening hours here. Quick hike over to town. Yes, over this way. Go consult the sage. Confirm the ritual that we have. Wherever they are. Anybody? Ah, there's somebody. That's a nester. There's the sage. Teach me how to ask for sleep. Now we know. There we go. Just get nicely warmed up. Hopefully that won't happen again too often. For several months.
Iskitulta Elmarin päällä yktipäin ja myöden kirjaavalla karmeilla kolmella kokonsolla lapalla kuuden kirjokannen päällä tai vahan 9 päällä pystyy hyödöllä rairautaisen ninnästä.
Right, so that's all the logs for the wall, and we'll just need additional boards, which I suppose I could use these boards. I had them sitting there as part of the pre-indoor spread. It could just as well become a door. I think that's most of the price of a door. axe. Do not attempt to build your cabin with only a knife. There's a cutoff point where it will tell you, do not try this, your tools are too bad, it would take too long. In the middle of the afternoon, Fjorg is ready to drop.
Well, it happens.
Classic Fjorg.
That's Fjorg, all right.
Ah. Of course. That sudden, abrupt spike in fatigue was a message from the spirits.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Feel unity, as finally we can ask for fish.
Nice.
That and permission to sleep are like the first spending rituals that Fjorg has finally developed after having all of these layers of earned the favor of the spirits. We'll have to go to town. I guess the spirits were feeling real awkward about this very generous man who doesn't seem to want anything,
That
putting
happened.
them
Yeah.
in an odd spot.
Like, should we give him something? Keeps on giving us stuff, not getting anything back. Feels weird, you know?
Spirits don't want to owe you anything. And weather looks to be stabilizing. I sold all his shirts. Fjorg only has extremes for clothing now. Full fur overcoat or of the wild. That looks like we'll be able to get this done today. Segment of wall. Though we're also low on food from that. Instead of getting that completely done, let's go to town, learn how to ask for fish, then catch some fish. Where's the old man? Oh, that's nasty. I think that's him in the back. Yes. There we go. He has explained fish. Alright, there we go. Encountering an animal in the wild, on the road. That satisfied the tutorial. We'll advance next when Fjorg manages to kill. The next time Fjorg manages to kill. We are in no way prepared for this, but it's good to see that there are large animals about. Fjorg will have to dig some holes.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan ehille tulen tuiki polttamille panun ehti päästämille.
Raise the bony pack and shoo the fishy flock. Nice. Good start. Alright, so that's the kind of haul that Fjorg is able to pull off on a nice full day, blessed manual fishing trip. Fjord, please don't pass out before we can put these on the fire. Okay. We'll take a quick nap here, and hopefully the smell of burning fish will be enough to just jostle Fjorg.
Get him back into action. Yeah.
Okay, we did it. Fine day's work. Bird. Alright, it's a ways up there. Birds continuing to fly by and be a nuisance, not bird falling into any of our traps. Oh wait, we did catch one. Well, alright then. Fjorg has killed.
Bjork.
Well,
I'm
Fjorg
impressed.
killed last week as well, but Fjorg is killed on the record. Alright, now we skin the bird. Get a shitload of feathers. then butcher, then reset our snare. You know, we don't need this meat for anything, so I'm just gonna sacrifice the whole bird. Alright. That is enough. The spirits are turning down any further effort. They did not want the entire bird.
Stop. We don't need it.
York, stop.
York. Seriously, just cut it out.
Alright, so then we did get a skin out of that. Try to put that to use. Even a small amount of skin. That might be like a mitten. Once we finish getting it processed. First you clean it off. And then, let's see. Clean, cure, and then it's either you cure or you tan it. And if it were a fur, you have to go. If it were a fur and you want regular leather instead of fur out of it, then you go through the process of removing the hair. Let's see, let me go look up the full hide working ritual here. Clean, then tan, then rinse, then pummel. So we're going to need some bark. Fortunately, we have a pile of bark. Use bark or animal fat, which is why the food category is up here.
I mean, bark is just wood fat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense that they'd be the same.
Yeah, so we need to let that rest for a while, and then we will continue the process a couple more times, and eventually have a small amount of usable animal skin. And we have all these damn feathers. Look at them.
Nice.
That's like 7 arrows. Enough that I'm gonna need more cord. Okay. Front wall. And from that I can do a quick price check on the door. 8 boards. Need slightly more than these. So let me go ahead and drag these boards instead of carrying them. That is actually quite a bit of lumber. A little bit closer. So let's see, just over here, in the old clothing making department. Belts, caps, shirts, leggings, shoes, arm guards, pins, or, well, yeah, a lot of that. That's armor. More than clothing. So cap, shirt, mittens. Leather shirt, 6 pounds of total leather. So we need a lot of birds to do that.
Ah, we can't make armor out of feathers.
Nah, feathers have their specific uses.
Unfortunate.
And there's no leather glove, only fur. We need to kill something fuzzy. Or more likely we're gonna buy warm clothing once we have an economy going of other things.
Right.
Okay, we need a bench and then a club of some sort to finish the leathering process.
Ah, right, because you gotta beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta beat that leather.
Leave that over here for now. I could fell a fresh tree, or I could go looking for one of those pre-felled logs and split that on the ground. We'll do a tree.
Tutuimmat olesta lienet nituimmat ole en mennyt lienet hinkuhinkalosta mennyt hinkuhinkalohon hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
It's how we learn. One log at a time. Alright, healthy supply aboard. Reload the fireplace. Push the two decent boards out of the way. Save those for attempting to make more trade goods. This is going to look sideways until it's done, and then it will settle into place, properly aligned with the surrounding wall. Fjorg has finished building the door, but is too tired to reach forward and push it open.
That's Fjorg for you.
Classic Fjorg.
Oh, that Fjorgo is not being able to do a single action of any kind.
That's our Fjorg, always on the verge of death. Alright, we have a door. And from that we have the anchor necessary to just sort of extend the interior back as far as we'd like. A new age of roof overhead. I'm going to do 2 interior sections, and then where Fjorg is standing right now, I will put a table. Put like a table here, bed in top left corner, then maybe a bench. Fjorg has room for many furnishings. And if nothing else, getting this first 3 tiles of interior down. That is also the foundations for if the decision is made to cut back on the ambitions and make a slightly smaller Fjorgholm. We have committed to it being 3 tiles tall. Could potentially work with less, in terms of depth. And there we go, we have enough boards for 2 more floor tiles sitting in place. Won't take too much more material to start filling out the interior of the house. Feel unity with the world. Realize how to ask about hunting. In time. And we caught another bird. Nice. Now that we know the rest of the secret, birds print money. Am I allowed to build furniture outside? Or I could just throw down a workbench in a spot. Yeah, requires an interior. Oh, wrong button. Well, Fjorg has stealthed. Came over here to pick up a rock. Now Fjorg is sneaking. Poorly. Stealth Fjorg. As indicated by his healthy green glow. The universal sign of stealth. Alright, so there's 2 tiles of indoors. Wanted to make a bench over there, a board and an axe. Alright.
Man, you're actually making some serious progress on your house. You
Yeah.
almost got an entire wall. You've got an entire wall done.
Got an entire wall, and the interior that hangs off of that wall. Everything
Yeah.
inside the house is relatively inexpensive for material and for labor. It's that heavy outer shell that really eats up a lot of time.
Yeah. Do you have to apply a roof as well, or does it just kind of automatically add a roof?
Roof is part of the floor.
Ah.
Each of these indoor
okay.
tiles is roof and floor.
Roof is floor, it turns out.
Roof is sky floor.
Yeah. Or is floor ground roof? These are the mysteries.
Perhaps
bet
Fjord
if you
knew,
asked-
he would be a wise man.
I bet if you ask the spirits, they'd be able to tell you. Like
The
no.
spirits, or at least the sage,
Yeah.
just head over to town every day.
Hey,
Consult the
Sage.
wise man. The parables of the humble Fjorg. Each of those is 1/5 of a pound. Bird skin. What is the smallest leather clothing? Probably just small things like belts and hats. Yeah, 1/3 for a belt. .15 for a hat. Two full pounds of leather for a pair of shoes. Nearly 3 for leggings. $1.5 for some arm guards. Arm guards, 3 for shin guard. We could prepare Fjorg for football. Given enough birds. Wait, maybe tailoring. Yeah, rope is probably what I'll make out of the small thing. Yeah, tailoring for all the cloth stuff. £1 of leather for 1 leather rope. So 5 birds to the rope. Come on, Fjord. Also, we now have an interior tile next to a stove, and we're becoming very warm from standing here, despite being shirtless. This might satisfy the requirements for a smokehouse, even though it has no surrounding wall. See, if I move over to the side here, the fire is out. It is just that the stove is warm. There, we have a bench. Let's sleep here. It's inside. It's warm. Yeah, I think we can tear down the shelter now. Fjorg is done building the interior. He'll even have a proper bed. The future. There. It is done. The old home is over. The new home begins.
At last. Real house.
Partial real house. And I'll leave this rock by the workbench. The first of Fjorg's many tools. Rock. A bit of home. There's going to be ages before these beans are ready to go. As you do.
Keskitulta ilmarinne päällä yktipäinen möinen kirjavalla kärmeellä kolmella kokonsolla lapalla kuun kirjokannen päällä päivähan 9 päällä pystymme vedellä raihirauta sinne
Or, right, not carving, splitting. Making more boards out of that one. Single decent board. The one proper board goes out into the crafting pile. Oh, wait. One of my other boards went missing. It might be that I've, like, collected too many small objects into one map grid. Some of them are getting culled out. That is a thing that can happen. Or wait, probably what happened was I, like, pushed the board aside, but then it got swept up into building the door anyway. Yeah, that seems more plausible. Alright, so we have 3 more floor tiles paid for here. Most of the 4th. One more tree will provide the remaining interior boards. Then all of our lumbering efforts will be devoted to finishing the outer shell.
You are remarkably close to finishing that house. And by that, I mean like about halfway through finishing that house.
Okay. One of our bird skins was left too long and has rotted. The other, though, we've managed to successfully turn into a horrible, ragged, tiny scrap of leather. That's fine. For Fjorg, this is progress. Yeah, that marks a day we should spend fishing. Food is low, but spirits are high. Besides, we need to experiment. See if the smokehouse now is functional somehow.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamahan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille palaa nehille tulen tuiki polttamille panun ehtipaistamille.
And it is still 8 weeks to midsummer. Fjorg is capable of keeping the pace necessary to finish that house by winter. Caught a single roach. Like, come on. Better. Alright, so for science sake, go grab one of my cord. Alright, this does not yet satisfy requirement. It is a warm room, but we cannot smoke here until it is enclosed. We still roast.
A shame.
I'll start. Dog work till sunrise. Sometimes that's just what you gotta do. Gonna keep up the pace of bringing in new material. Maintaining that 1 tree per day is very important.
Keskitulta ilmarinen päällä yhtiväinen möinen kirjavalla kärmeellä kolmella kokonsolla lapalla kuuden kirjokannen päällä päivähan 900 pystymme rairautu sen ennästä.
Especially since all of our lumber work is producing branches as a side effect. With the fireplace, we don't need terribly large amounts of wood in order to get started. We save a lot of fuel by having a nice rock shell to burn in. Also, that rotten, half-finished bird leather did not burn up in the fire.
That's some tough bird leather.
What are you? Did we find... Are grouse the salamander of the north? Are birds made of asbestos?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Grouse are tough.
Hmm.
I'm a tough bird.
Go ahead and give this back to the lake, then. Okay, it's still there, just now it's wet. This indestructible rotten bird skin. Grouse are powerful. There was use of asbestos in Old Finland. It was a reinforcing agent for pottery, which is one of the things that remains oddly absent from the game.
You don't need pottery. That's nothing.
Alright, so there's all the wood I need for the rest of the interior, and probably a bed. As well as one more regular quality board.
beep.
Even with good material, Fjorg isn't great at woodwork. These things happen. I suppose I could use the traps as traps. At least the trash ones. Which, in this case, I'd say that's both of them. I have more rotting meat that hasn't finished breaking down. Illustrated there what this is. It's an upright plank of wood with some, like, serrated wedges cut into the top of it. And what you do is you place some manner of tasty trap bait on the end of it to encourage medium-sized animals to try and leap up at the top of the board to grab the bait. Then, if they miss slightly, they instead get their paws snagged in the wedges. Just kind of get stuck there dangling. Like, per the name, the target animal for this is fox, but other things that are vaguely fox-sized and behave like fox can fall for this trap. Small cats, wild dogs, everything in that category of mid-sized predator. That is sort of the broad fundamentals. There's 3 overall tiers of animal that you could be trapping for. Snares will catch small things. Stuff like board traps and deadfalls will catch medium things. And then pits and larger deadfalls will catch big things. Let us finish. Alright, that'll do.
Tutuimatuolesta oli nyt nituimman tuolle emmän yli, et hinkuhinkalosta mennyt hinkuhinkaloon, hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
Of course, to fire a bow, you throw an arrow while wielding your bow.
Of course.
How do I unwheel? I need to free up a hand. Alright, never mind. Bird is getting away. It's fine. Keep those in a separate pile. Somewhere out in the open where I can easily access them. "37 fatigue. Getting good at this. Just preemptively wielding the axe gives some benefit there. Mysterious. feel unity with carpentry. Skiing is a skill. When winter rolls around again, Fjorg will heavily benefit from a good set of skis. Walking through snow causes fatigue. More so than usual. Gliding over snow is not only easier, but faster.
Tuimatuulesta oli nyt nituimmalla tuolla en mennyt niin, että hinkuhinkalosta mennyt hinkuhinkaloon, hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
"42. There's a bit of variance in the fatigue cost of felling a tree. That would probably be the degree to which skill rating is influencing the process. Where he is slowly improving. These branches over here to maintain our supply of arrow bits. Which I will have to make more cord at some point. Fjorg's schedule allows for like about 2.5 recognizable tasks in a day. Assign one of those to log, and then do like one of fishing or block of construction. Today we'll be fishing.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan hille tulen tuiki polttamille panun ehtipaistamille.
The lake is kind. Now someday, when the house is complete, a good hull like that will be a net gain for our long-term storage. When the default thing to do with inbound food is preservation instead of immediate preparation and consumption.
Right.
Since all the more durable food processes also take longer to do, so they are not something you do with your last-minute panic catch of food.
Yeah, smoking takes ages.
So it is also another benefit of the winter, when the winter is around, that suddenly you have refrigeration. You have limitless cold storage in the wild. Probably have to clear the target tile of material first. Ice houses are not a thing in the current mechanics. We cannot harvest ice as a material. Who knows, maybe that's something they'd implement down the road. That bird is so bold. Bird is fearless. Look at him swooping right down onto my lawn. Fearless. In a way, admirable. All these berries are also going to help attract a lot of bird. Very small food items like that are often of more use as bait than as direct food. Use them to trade up to something larger that wants to eat them.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan hille tulen tuiki polttamille panun ehtipaistamille.
Getting better at this processing of captured bird. And this time, since we have all the necessary tools for the skin process, we can just sort of deal with that one step at a time.
The skin process. Ugh.
Yes. The skin industry. Right. Shove all this bark closer to the shore. I might be able to sacrifice the rotten bird skin. No. General sacrifices need to be edible food products. I'm gonna have to set aside a day to do more cord making so I can do more arrow making now that we have unreasonable quantities of feathers. Make all kinds of ammo. Yeah, so with Fjord's current work throughput capabilities, each tile of outer wall costs a week of schedule.
Damn.
Ten wall tiles remaining. So yeah, we will finish the outer shell of the cabin somewhere after midsummer. Around the time of the bean harvest. That's not bad. Actually, you know what? Let's see if that's just still warm enough on its own. Yes. Nice. That technology. Yeah, considering these are the individual tiles 2 meters long is the idea. It's a pretty appreciable amount of house for a single lone woodsman of impaired lung capacity to be building.
Yeah, it's true. You are actually making a pretty sizable home.
6 meters is pretty lengthy interior wall. The mic might be faintly picking up that I have, on that line of thought, actually grabbed a tape measure and I'm starting to extrude it out, aid in visualizing just how much Fjord wall is being built here. It's quite a bit. The room that I am in right now is just kind of vaguely brandishing the old measured tape around the room here. About, say, 3 by 2.5 of the old length metrics. And homes of the modern world are gargantuan compared to the standards to which buildings of old were often constructed.
It's true.
Fjord's cabin is going to be quite appreciable. He's like building like a small apartment worth of structure of like solid wood. Very capable architect, our Fjord. Yeah, this is gonna be like a hall. Let's finish with that hide. Because once we have it fully rendered down into leather... Oh wait, didn't rinse it yet. There. Rinse, then dry, then beat. Once it's fully rendered down, it becomes durable. It'll endure in that state indefinitely. Gonna make some more cord. Time consuming, but relatively low fatigue. Ideally, we will switch to more powerful kinds of rope in the medium future. For now, though, these are what we got. Rough arrows around for use in combat. And then decent arrows are currency. The fine arrows are also for combat. In fact, yeah, let me grab longbow and the fine arrows. The rough arrows are for improvised hunting. The fine arrows are for emergencies where we may have to kill a man wearing layers of protective clothing. Keep the longbow, sell the short bow. In time, more of these piles. Right, we have a spare fishing rod too. That would be reasonably sellable stuff. Start gathering our piles of things together. There. Our second ragged grouse leather. Fine product of Fjorgholm. And yeah, if nothing else, with those hides. Go ahead and looking up to confirm. No, that is another... Never mind, that's another non-leather task. Once we have a bed, you can apply furs to the bed to improve its insulation and comfort. Setting aside in this pile things that will eventually be used for metalwork in the future. "20 rocks will be involved in that process. 20 rocks, many more stones. The rest of these rocks will go in the arrow pile.
Kutuimatuolesta oli nyt nidunaa tuolla ennen yli, että kuhinkalosta menisin kuhinkaloon, niin kuhinkalon perästä ei kuhinkalon perään.
Once we start to thin out the woods on this side, I may also consider taking advantage of the raft. You can row over to the far side of the lake and get trees that are near the shore. Then again, raft might not be powerful enough to carry a full log. Boards, certainly. Well, let's see, what's the carrying capacity on a raft? Over 15,000 pounds. Okay. Raft is in fact quite capable. Alright. 5th tile of the interior. Also, I suppose, given how the rest of things work, it was nice visual shorthand to have everything spread out like that. But I can just go ahead and throw all of it into the center. Let the work of building the core of the Fjorgholm continue from atop this mighty woodpile. Our shovel is not great, but it is at least made of metal. Putting it radically ahead of even the finest sharpened wood.
I have seen the finest sharpened wood before, and it's still basically not as good as metal. Metal is wood of the earth, and the earth is powerful, so...
Metal is like wood, but cheating.
Metal is like wood, but more. It's more wood than wood.
Wood plus. And Fjorg is only starting to wrap his head around the riddle of wood. The riddle of steel would be yet stronger. He'll get there someday. The interior tiles build pretty quick, so I might just try to finish the whole roofed-in area. And I can bring all my possessions in under the roof for storage. Many miscellanea. Yeah, so 3 more interior tiles, and then I'll put down the far corners of the building. So I'm also planning to put windows into the mid sections of each of the other walls. Give Fjorg some good visibility of the garden, the traps. All that good stuff. One of the major shortcuts you can do if you want to get started faster on having an enclosed house is if you find a cave. Cave counts as structure for purposes of installing your floors and your doors and your walls. If one wanted to live as a cave Fjorg. Just be wary, as many caves already have occupants who might not appreciate roommates.
There are strange, terrifying animals with large bodies and a lot of fur, and also skulls that can defeat any arrow you want to fire at it.
Mm-hmm.
We call these terrible beings bears, and they live in caves.
The great demon, bear.
Yeah.
Your only real option against that, well, it's a, if you are well equipped, it's a toss-up as to whether you could survive a melee with a bear.
Mm-hmm.
But the more sensible way to approach bear is if you identify bear territory, sneak in, dig some holes full of sharp spikes, or build a heavy deadfall. Where those are a whole class of trap of various sizes that are about balancing a weight on a precarious whatchamajig that an animal will knock over in the process of looking for bait. Small ones would use like a rock to kill a hare. Very large ones might be like an entire log. Those are what we'd use to fell an elk or a bear by crushing. When the fatigue budget allows, Fjorg might make a side project out of setting up a pit. Since we saw that one elk, it was an elk or a stag. We saw one large animal over hereabouts. So it could be worthwhile to just rig up a hole near an animal route and see if anything stumbles into it over the next month. If it does, a large beast like that is a lot of payoff when you manage to kill one. Like I've managed to catch an elk in a pit trap with another character. It took the entire day to finish butchering it.
Elks are large.
Very large. The character had to make multiple trips to haul all of the meat back home and desperately scramble to stay awake as they prepared enough cord to tie it all up in the smokehouse for preservation. That's another one of those things that would be more often handled by a team, a family, or a tribe that can split the effort of dealing with a large animal when you manage to kill it.
Definitely.
A lone Fjorg would have quite a struggle on him. There's about 30 large trees on camera right now. An appreciable slice of our remaining efforts are accounted for up here. Our near woods will provide all necessary material. Fjorg is on course for even this outlandishly oversized single home. Yeah, you can even do an interior tile in most of a fatigue bar. He has the technology. That unity with the world that you can only feel when passing out in the middle of building a home with your own two hands.
Jutuimmat olesta oli, että nituimmat ole ennen yli, että hinkuhinkalosta mennessä hinkuhinkalohon, hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
let me shove these over here. Gonna clear things out, so we have these 6 logs meant for that corner there. Or, really, they could be meant for any tile of wall around here, just because I'm gonna start with building the corners. Could just as well accumulate all of the lumber. There, at last. A bed. One wall, a roof, a bed, a fireplace. A proper Fjorgish home. Another 54 logs will be needed in order to complete the outer shell. 4 logs and many days of labor to assemble them into walls. For the first time, Fjorg sleeps in his own bed, under his own roof.
Tuimatuolesta oli, että tuimatuolle ennen yli, että hinkuhinkalosta mennyt hinkuhinkaloon, hinkuhinkalon perästä hinkuhinkalon perään.
Today, we fish. The lake shares Fjord's enthusiasm. It's a good day to Fjord. Once the house is assembled, the tree per day will probably be replaced with routine fishing trips.
Right.
Since while Fjord will still need firewood, that is going to cost far less labor per time. Every log, once appropriately processed, is hundreds of blocks of firewood.
Tuskitulta ilmarinne päällä yktipäin nämmöinen kirjavalla kärmehellä kolmella kokonsolla lapalla kuun kirjokannen päällä päivähan 9 päällä pystymme vedon rahdilta sen ninnästä.
With firewood, use every part of the log. You know,
Yes.
you don't waste a single piece.
Very carefully, elegantly butcher the log. Fjord can make charcoal as part of the mod.
Oh, nice.
That is a
Even more
relatively
efficient.
simple process. I haven't tested how well it does as a direct burning fuel. It's mostly there as a prereq for metalworking stuff. For 30 branches is pretty alright for small cooking fire here.
You want to turn this very, very slight, rail thin Finnish Islander into a blacksmith. I love it.
Yes. Fjord will manage whole dozens of hammer strikes per day.
A whole dozen. Damn. When folding his steel, he has to spend days and days and days and days on it because he can only manage one fold a day.
Look, he's reasonably strong. And you know,
Yeah.
metalworking, a bunch of that is waiting. There's plenty of downtime.
Sure, yeah.
Fjord can put the iron into the fire, take a nap, wake up, retrieve the iron, hammer it 4 times, then collapse.
Put it back in the fire, take another nap.
He's fine. We'll figure it out. we'll go for a second tree today.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamahan diskoa vilua vettä
Especially since we're not doing more construction until we have the bulk of the material for the walls.
Good old Fjorg Fishersmith, we call him.
Fjorg of the Ironfish.
Knows the iron fish technique.
Where's my carving axe?
If it carves too many times, has it worn down?
Seems to have vanished. Oh wait, there it is.
Ah, alright.
For some reason I left it here by sheep.
Well, if you were doing any carving near the sheep, because the sheep is your best friend. Makes sense.
Sheep appreciates a good axe.
I will never get over the fact that the sheep just vibrates all the time.
Very active. Very lively.
Handsome sheep.
It's time to bring my axes and my shovel in from out of the rain. Those get to live under the roof. Spend the afternoon whittling more primitive cord. And I'll set a bunch of these aside for indoor use. Will be for someday preserving meats. How many feathers? If there's anything else we can do with those. used to make regular arrow and blunt arrow. A blunt arrow just doesn't need a rock for the arrowhead. Still requires tying equipment. Shut the door to our one-wall house. Some rustle. Nature, what are you up to?
You heard a rustle, huh?
Something rustling in our vicinity. Bring my terrible pair of shoes inside. Inside, more underside than inside. Fjorg has his strange precarious hanging roof.
Tulen sulta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille palaa nehille tulen tuiki polttamille panun ehtipaistamille.
There, we ask permission to finish sleeping, rustle free. There you go, it's that easy. So much progress in relatively little time. Feel unity with the world. Become at home.